All right, hello, I'm Blaze, and welcome to Claude Code from Zero. So I've been using Claude Code for a few months now in my personal projects, and then I recently got it at work as well, and I'm integrating it into some workflows there. And so I'm by no means an expert, but I do have a pretty good grasp on at least the basic setup of the different composables and things like that, a lot of the features, and how to get some pretty good results building out workflows. So my goal here is to make kind of a quick little series that you can kind of easily digest, get a good grasp on the concepts behind some of this stuff and actually using the tool and setting stuff up. And that way you can go have a baseline to work with as you kind of play with this and figure it out for yourself. So by no means it's going to be a super deep technical dive, but I think it'll be a good kind of baseline to get you started. So with that being said, if you haven't installed the CLI already, there is a great quick start guide in the Claude Code docs. It's super straightforward. For me, I'm on Linux, so I just ran this shell command and I logged in and I was good. As far as other operating systems, it might vary a little bit, but it shouldn't be too bad. And then also there's a VS Code extension. If that's your preference, you could use that. Most of the things we talk about in these videos should map over pretty well. There might be some nuance, but for the most part, it'll operate the same. I'm going to use the CLI though, because that's what I use day to day, and it's just my preference. So with that being said, let's jump over to a terminal, and I'm just going to walk you through the basic use of the CLI. So once you have it installed, you should be able to navigate to whatever project directory you want to work within. I'm just on my desktop here, so we're just going to use that. I'll run Claude, and I should see a TUI launch. The first time you run this in a given directory, it might ask you for permission. Do I trust this folder or something like that? Just say yes, unless it's a folder you don't want it to have access to. But it will probably ask you the first time. Once you have the TUI launched here, though, it's just like prompting an LLM in the browser. You can just have a conversation. So let's say, hey Claude, how's your night? Well, I spelled wrong, but oh well. It should get what I'm saying. My night's going well. How's your help? Need help with anything? So there you go. We got a response. We could also attach context if we needed to via files. So just like you could upload files to ChatGPT or something like that, or Claude on the browser, you can do so right here on your system by hitting an app and then go into the file path if it's in your current working directory. Or you could also, if it was like in your downloads or somewhere else on your system, you can just drag it in and drop it and it'll upload right there. Same for images, and it's pretty good at processing both. You just drag them right here in the CLI. But not much too else I'll cover on prompting. I think that's pretty straightforward. One good thing to know is if you type a prompt and you hate it, you can double tap escape and it's gone. But yeah, one thing I will say too, a lot of people are kind of nervous to interrupt Claude once they give a prompt if they realize they made a mistake or like they wanted to give more information or something like that. But it's actually perfectly fine. So if I say like, give me a short story about giraffes, and then I realize actually I wanted about elephants, I can hit a Control C. It'll interrupt. You see it says, what should I do instead? And now I have the choice to completely derail and go do something else, or I can actually extend the previous prompt. So I'll say, actually, make it about elephants. And then I should see that it just picks up where it left off and writes the story about elephants instead. So we'll wait a second, and then here we go. Looks like it's about elephants. Yep, a young elephant. There we go. A few other good tools to know, which we will probably talk about a little bit more when we get to context. You can hit a clear, which is a slash command, which I probably should cover first, actually. So what slash commands are ways to use integrated things either out of the box, or you can also build custom ones to do things within your workflow. So you can see the Claude comes out of the box with a lot of good ones for doing different things. And this is kind of what differentiates something like just an LLM in the browser from an agentic tool like this. People kind of use the term model and agent interchangeably, but that's not actually accurate. A model is purely an LLM reasoning model. So you go ask a question and you get an answer, but then it's up to you to implement whatever it gave you. So like if it gave you code, you have to copy paste that, go put it in your code base or whatever. An agent is something that takes that LLM, uses it as a brain, and then connects it to a series of tools and information and all that kind of stuff to allow you to achieve autonomous workflows. So an agent is great for true automation. And that's what Claude Code is. It's just an agentic tool. And a good one at that. So with that being said, these slash commands are what enables that. So we can slash and we can do different kind of feature functionalities of the application within our code base or our project or whatever. But I digress. Back to what I was talking about. We can hit a slash and we can do a clear, and then rather than have to like close your terminal and open a new one and reinitialize Claude, or like double control C to exit Claude and run it again, you can just clear the context and now you have a clean slate. It just deletes everything in the conversation history. As far as some other things to think about, there's also models. So if you want to change the reasoning model you're using, there are choices here, and you can select whichever one. Opus is going to be the best as far as like heavy inference, but it is also the most expensive. So if money's no object, let's use Opus for everything and get the best performance, but some of this stuff can get kind of expensive. So sometimes if you have like a lighter task, you might choose to use one of the weaker models. Sonnet's going to be the next best. It's kind of the middle of the road model. And then Haiku is going to be the weaker one. Not great for anything heavy inference like code or anything, but fine for like conversational stuff or even like some light text work or something like that's fine. And then if you're ever on one of these submenus and you want to get back to the main menu, all you have to do is hit escape. And then you're right back to that chat window. But yeah, the only other thing I'll cover in this first video, I'm going to save the more conceptual stuff with context and whatnot for the next video, is the modes. So this is super important. There's there's a few, but there's mainly two modes. There's plan mode and then there's edit mode. The more and more you use this tool and the more advanced workflows you're using or doing with it, you're going to want to be in plan mode a lot at the beginning. What plan mode does is it basically limits Claude to where it doesn't go execute anything. So it doesn't write code, it doesn't change files. The only thing it will execute in plan mode is it might use MCPs to look up stuff from like your different external services, or it might go do like finds and greps within your code base to find context of like what's going on, what it needs to like plan whatever changes you're trying to do. But it will not make any changes to files. So the power here is you can go in plan mode at the beginning when you have some idea in your head of what you want to do. You can give a prompt basically explaining what you want to Claude. It'll then go gather context of how to achieve that task, come back and ask you clarifying questions about whatever that task may be. So like things to help it give you exactly what you want. You can answer those questions. It'll then go off again. It might run a few more searches to figure things out based on what you told it. And then it should present you with a final plan. Once you get that final plan, you can then kind of tweak it and go back and forth with Claude to get it exactly how you want it. And then once you approve that plan, it'll go into edit mode and go and implement the plan and use it as a source of truth to reference throughout the whole process. And this is just super, super clean. And you're going to find that you do way less debugging or have weird like consistency errors where like, I don't know if you're one of those people who like myself who used to do like the LLM method where you copy paste into chat, get some stuff, put it back, do another one. You end up with things that like don't line up. Since this is like a cohesive plan, it kind of does everything all at once and it makes sure that things are integrated together. It's much more like systematic. But yeah, that was kind of a spiel. To digress, you really want to be spending a lot of time in planning with this stuff, especially if you're doing complex tasks. The thing I would say is if you skip the planning, then you're going to make up for it doing a lot of debugging. So definitely use plan mode. And then edit mode, if I give a prompt in edit mode, it's just going to go do it. It's not going to go through that whole planning stage. So it's fine for simpler things, but in general, I'm always using plan mode for anything more than like a few line code change or something like that. But that being said, I think that pretty much covers everything for the basic CLI usage. Just to kind of recap, prompt the same way you would in like a browser LLM. You can attach files either by dragging them in or you can hit an @ and type the file name. Your different modes. You can use Shift Tab to go between modes, by the way. And then, yeah, I think that's a good overview. Claude to initialize. In the next video, we'll talk about kind of the structure of the directories within the Claude system, some of the basics of what the composables are, and we'll mainly be talking about context. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.